Welcome to Psyche Talks. Today we're doing a deep dive into something really fascinating. Social intelligence. We're drawing from a great audiobook a listener shared, focusing on what it calls the art of reading and responding to people. Our goal here is, well, to pull out the absolute key insights for you. Think of it as a shortcut to getting up to speed, but more than that, figuring out how you can actually use these ideas day to day. I mean, have you ever had that feeling after a chat like, ugh, I totally missed something there, or maybe, well, I could have handled that way better. Or maybe you look back and see moments, opportunities in work or life that kind of slipped by because you didn't quite read the room. That's exactly what we want to tackle.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because social intelligence, it's not really about being super smooth or naturally charming. It's not even about being an extrovert. It really boils down to awareness, like true awareness of what's going on with people, and then knowing how to respond effectively, wisely, with, clarity and confidence in the moment. The source material really hammers this home. When you understand how to genuinely connect, pretty much everything improves. Your relationships get deeper, you're more effective at work, your confidence grows, your influence, it all gets better. And the key thing is, this isn't about putting on a fake smile or learning lines. It's a skill. It's something you build with a consistent, deliberate practice every day. It's not just something you have or you don't.
Okay, so if it's a skill, not just some innate talent, where do we start? The audiobook points to observation. Mastering observation is the absolute foundation. So let's dig into that. How do we actually see people, understand what's really going on under the surface?
Right, mastering observation. It's way more than just, noticing the obvious things. It means really being fully present, engaging all your senses to pick up on those silent signals. Because let's face it, people carry a lot underneath. Hidden stuff like pain, maybe fear, shame, frustration. They might not say it. Sometimes they can't even put words to it themselves. And what's really fascinating and kind of worrying is that most of us, we observe with maybe half our attention, if that. We hear the words, sure, but we miss the tone completely. We see a face, but we overlook those tiny little micro expressions, those fleeting looks that flash across the face and betray the real emotion. Or we see someone do something, but we don't grasp the why behind it, the motivation. The audiobook even suggests our brains often process these nonverbal things before the words, giving them huge weight.
Wow, okay, that level of seeing everything, it sounds pretty intense. Almost overwhelming, maybe. If someone's just starting out, how do they begin? Yeah. Is there like a practical first step that feels manageable?
Oh, absolutely. It does take practice, disciplined practice. Training your mind to focus intentionally without getting distracted by your own thoughts. It means really listening without planning your response. Watching someone's face without just looking past them. Noticing how they say something, what they don't say, the energy they're giving off. So a really concrete thing you can do starting today, just pause. Before you jump in to speak in a conversation, take 1 second, just one. Look at their face, their eyes, their posture. How's their tone? Ask yourself, okay, do they seem tense, relaxed, open, closed off? Do their words match their energy? You'll start spotting those little mismatches. Like someone says, oh, I'm fine, but their shoulders are hunched, their voice is flat, they're not making eye contact. That tells you something, right? And doing this disciplined observation, it lets you respond from a place of what the book calls calm strength. It makes people trust you, respect you, it makes you more impactful, and you don't need a psychology degree for it.
That makes sense. That pause, that intentional observation, it feels like the natural bridge to the next big challenge, actually hearing what people are saying. And maybe, even more crucially, what they're not saying. So, okay, we're working on observing better. The next critical piece is listening. And this is where I think most of us think we're good listeners, but maybe we aren't.
This is where it gets really interesting, like you said, because often we're just waiting for a gap so we can talk. Yeah. And that habit, it just keeps us from really understanding, active listening. It isn't passive. It's not automatic. It's an art, really, a discipline. Takes effort. Takes a bit of humility, too. Yeah. It means consciously stepping into their world for a moment, letting go of that urge to fix things or to jump in with your response or to interrupt with your own story. If you think about the bigger picture, people reveal so much below the surface. Through their tone, the rhythm of their speech, the pauses they take, what they choose not to say. If you miss that layer, you're kind of missing the most important part, and the impact. Well, when you truly listen, people feel it. They start to open up. They trust you more. They feel seen, heard. And guess what? They become much more receptive to what you have to say later. It's pretty profound.
Okay, but how do you actually do that?
Yeah.
Quieting that inner voice, that constant chatter, wanting to solve or share, it's really hard. Any practical tips there?
It is hard,
Yeah.
absolutely. It starts with just noticing that impulse, that internal noise, the urge to advise or fix or relate it back to yourself. One technique the book suggests is developing the habit of just staying quiet for maybe a second or two longer than feels natural after someone finishes speaking. It creates this little bit of space. And often people will fill that space, sometimes revealing something more honest or deeper. Another thing is using paraphrasing or reflection. Simple phrases like, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is, or, wow, it sounds like you're feeling really, It shows you're actually absorbing what they said, you're present, not just nodding politely while thinking about lunch. In this crazy, distracted world we live in, giving someone your full, undivided attention. It's become incredibly rare. The audiobook even calls it a form of love, and it builds real connection, real influence, precisely because it's so uncommon.
That idea of listening is a form of love.
Yeah.
And it seems like the deep listening naturally flows into the next stage, empathy. So moving beyond just hearing the words to really understanding their world, what does that mean for connecting deeply?
Exactly. Empathy. It's not just a concept, it's something you live daily. It's learning to genuinely try and see life through someone else's eyes. Not just guessing or assuming you know how they feel, but being willing to actually feel with them, even just for a moment. It's about meeting people right where they are without judging them, without needing to fix them or even agree with them. And it's important to remember empathy isn't softness, it's a strength. A real strength. It takes guts, actually, emotional discipline, to hold space for someone else's pain or perspective without immediately trying to minimize it or argue against it. That discomfort you might feel, that's where the growth happens. That's where connection is forged. The book gives examples of leaders who turn things around, not by being smarter, but just by showing they got what their team was going through.
That makes so much sense. It's less about solutions, more about just recognizing the shared human experience.
Yeah.
So practically speaking, how does empathy change how we actually interact with people?
Well, practically, empathy sharpens your observation skills even further. You start noticing those really subtle things, tiny shifts in voice tone, flickers in body language, the overall energy, especially when the words don't quite match the feeling. And that changes how you respond. You move from just reacting, maybe defensively, to actually relating to the person. The impact is huge. It breaks down walls. It cuts through the masks people wear. It encourages authenticity because people feel safer being real around you. In leadership, like we said, it's the difference between managing tasks and truly understanding and motivating people, fostering commitment, not just ticking boxes. In relationships, it's the foundation of intimacy. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just be there and say, I hear you, I see you, I'm here with you. A good way to practice is just get curious. Genuinely curious about people, not in a judgmental way, but try and understand. Ask yourself, what might this person be dealing with right now? Or even ask them directly, gently. Help me understand what that's like for you. And here's a crucial point the book makes. Self-empathy is vital. You need to practice being kind and understanding towards your own struggles and pain. It's really hard to offer genuine empathy to others if you're constantly beating yourself up.
That's a really powerful point about self-empathy. Wow. It really feels like these skills are interconnected. They build on each other. Observation, listening, empathy. Okay, so now let's connect that inner understanding to how we actually interact. Let's talk about the unspoken stuff, body language, and how we can use that awareness to adapt our own style and connect better.
You're right. They totally build on each other. And body language. Yeah, most of what people really mean isn't in their words, it's in how they show it. The body tends not to lie, it often reveals tension or discomfort or doubt way before the words catch up. So the source highlights some specific cues for you to watch for. Eyes. Are they making contact? Avoiding it? Darting around? Are their pupils dilated? Even the direction they look can sometimes hint if they're recalling a memory or maybe constructing something. It signals things like discomfort or interest or cognitive load. Posture. Is it open, relaxed, or closed off, tense? That tells you about their feeling of safety, their confidence, or maybe uncertainty. Look for subtle shifts like someone leaning back slightly or turning their feet towards the door like they want to escape. Hands. What are their hands doing? Are they fidgeting? Rubbing their palms together? Clenched fists? Hidden away in pockets. Hands reveal a lot about our internal state: insecurity, confidence, anxiety, breathing, even breathing patterns. A sudden deep inhale might signal hesitation or stress. A quick exhale could be relief or frustration. Shallow, rapid breathing often links to anxiety. But, and this is really crucial, the audiobook stresses, don't jump to conclusions based on just one single gesture.
Ah, right. Context matters.
Hugely. Someone crossing their arms might just be cold, not defensive. You need to look for clusters of cues, stack them up, and most importantly, look for consistency or inconsistency between the verbal message and the nonverbal signals. Alignment builds trust. Misalignment raises flags.
Okay, that's super important. Look for patterns, clusters, context. Don't play armchair psychologist with one signal. So once we're getting better at reading these signals, how do we actually use that insight to adapt how we communicate? Because it's not just about decoding them, it's about connecting, right?
Exactly right. The whole point of communication isn't just to transmit information, it's to connect. And adapting your style based on what you're observing, that isn't being fake or manipulative. It's being smart, it's being aware, it's being present to the other person. Our source talks about how people are kind of wired differently. You'll encounter different types. There's the analytical type, they want the facts, the data, the logic. Then the emotional type, they care more about connection, feelings, the why, the meaning. You also have assertive types, they value efficiency, directness, clarity, maybe a sense of control. And then reflective types, they might need more reassurance, patience, time to process things. So this raises a really important question for you. Are you actually tuning yourself to the other person's frequency? Or are you just communicating in the way you prefer? Adapting, maybe slowing down your pace for someone who seems overwhelmed, or being more direct and bottom line focused for a results driven person. That's how you earn their trust and attention. You're meeting them where they are. I remember this manager who kept trying to emotionally reassure a very analytical team member. It just wasn't landing. It created frustration. But when the manager switched to just providing the data points the employee needed, boom, connection restored. So a practical tip. Pay attention to how people react while you're speaking. Are they nodding along, leaning in, or are they pulling back, looking distracted? Adjust your delivery in real time. If they look confused, maybe rephrase. If they seem impatient, get to the point faster.
It's fascinating how much of this, as you said, isn't just about observing others. It's so much about mastering ourselves. Which brings us to the inner game. Let's talk about emotional awareness and that quiet strength of humility. These seem absolutely foundational to everything else.
They really are. Emotional awareness, it's critical.
Yeah.
Understanding that emotions aren't your enemies. They're signals, powerful signals. Real strength comes from knowing what you're feeling, understanding why you're feeling it, and then learning how to use that emotional energy constructively instead of letting it control you. Because the cost of being emotionally unaware or blind, as the book puts it, is pretty high, isn't it? You end up reacting impulsively instead of responding thoughtfully, snapping at people, missing out on things because of fear, or just stuffing emotions down until they fester into bitterness or resentment. So how do you build that awareness? Start small. Just pause a few times a day and check in. Ask yourself, okay, what am I actually feeling right now? And try to get specific. Go beyond just happy, sad, angry, war. Can you tell the difference between feeling, say, frustrated versus annoyed versus genuinely enraged? Being able to name the emotion is the first step to navigating it. The audiobook calls this awareness the bridge between impulse and intention. It lets you feel anger without lashing out or feel fear without running away. It gives you choices. Control over yourself.
And humility. That feels like such an underrated quality these days. How does that fit into social intelligence?
Oh, it's huge. The source frames humility as true power. It's the strength to admit when you're wrong, to say, I don't know, or I need to learn more about that. It's not about putting yourself down. It's a quiet confidence that recognizes you're always a work in progress. Think about the impact. Stubbornly refusing to admit a mistake. That creates distance. It damages trust. But taking ownership, saying, you know what, I messed that up. That humanizes you. It makes you relatable. It shows you value truth more than your ego. That act alone can open doors that arrogance slams shut. It can turn a tense situation into collaboration. I've seen it happen. A simple, sincere, my bad, let's fix it, can completely diffuse conflict and even strengthen a relationship. How to practice. Start small. Acknowledge when you interrupt someone. Oops, sorry, go ahead. Admit when you misjudge something. I think I got that wrong. Own a small error. I overlooked that detail. Ooh, it builds incredible credibility over time. And it shows people around you that growth is valued more than just looking good. This inner work, managing your own reactions, owning your part, that's how you earn genuine respect and build connections that last.
It's so clear now that social intelligence isn't just a collection of techniques. It's really a whole way of being, isn't it? It seems to boil down to having this genuine curiosity about others and then a real commitment to practicing these things every single day. It sounds like a lifelong pursuit.
It absolutely is. And that social curiosity piece is key. It's about fundamentally shifting your focus, moving away from trying so hard to be interesting yourself and instead becoming genuinely interested in other people. The audiobook calls this effect creating emotional gravity. You naturally draw people towards you, not because you're flattering them, but because you're offering them real focused attention, making them feel significant. And when you do that, people open up more. Trust deepens. Conversations go beyond surface level small talk into something richer, more meaningful. It tends to disarm people's egos, lower their defenses. It fosters empathy instead of judgment. A really powerful way to cultivate this curiosity is to ask better questions. Deeper questions. Maybe something like, what's something you've been thinking about a lot lately? Or what's a belief you used to hold strongly that's changed over time? And then crucially, silence that inner voice that's planning your response or judging theirs. Just be fully present. Listen. You don't have to be perfect, just genuinely curious. And that leads right back to the daily commitment you mentioned. Social skills. They're a discipline, like practicing an instrument or working out. They're essential for navigating life well, not some optional extra or a talent you're just born with. Consistent, intentional, daily practice that's the only way to get better. Which brings up an important question for you, the listener. Do you tell yourself, oh, I'm just not good with people? Is that a fixed truth you accept? Or is it maybe just a pattern? A pattern that can be changed with a commitment. The source really challenges that kind of fixed mindset. So for daily practice, try making eye contact for just a second longer than feels comfortable. Make a real effort to remember people's names. Listen with your whole body, lean in slightly, nod. Speak with sincerity. Express appreciation, even for small gestures. And maybe ask trusted friends or colleagues for gentle feedback. Remember, growth almost always happens right at the edge of your comfort zone. Pushing just a little bit, holding eye contact, initiating an introduction, asking a slightly deeper question. This ongoing commitment, it's what shapes you into someone who is grounded, aware, effective, someone people seek out, trust, want to follow. It's really about becoming the best version of yourself, not trying to be someone else. And that process unlocks so many opportunities.
What an incredible journey through social intelligence. We've covered so much from that foundational skill of observation, through deep listening, cultivating empathy, reading body language, adapting our style, and really mastering that inner world of emotional awareness and humility, all wrapped up in curiosity and daily practice. It's clear these skills are genuinely transformative. And here's a final thought to leave you with, something to mull over. Imagine how much misunderstanding, how much conflict, how many missed opportunities in the world could be avoided, maybe even healed, if just a few more of us truly committed to mastering these skills. What if developing your social intelligence isn't only about personal benefit, but maybe it's part of a quieter revolution? A shift towards deeper human connection, making the world just a little bit more understanding, one interaction at a time.
That's a powerful thought. The ripple effect of consistent effort in these skills really is profound. It changes not just your own experience, but the experience of everyone you interact with.
Thank you for your support and for listening.